Welcome to the Spiritualpreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Christian, aka Love Pixel. And in each episode, we sit down with spiritual entrepreneurs sharing their knowledge, wisdom, and tools on their path to authentic success. Let's dive in. What's up, beautiful people? This is Christian from the Successful Spiritualpreneur Podcast. And today I'm very excited to have Dr. Dain Heer on the show. He is the co-creator of Access Consciousness, which is a global movement in 170 countries. That's a lot of countries. Might as well say the whole world. And he's also the international best-selling author of Being You, Changing the World. He grew up in Los Angeles, facing abuse, poverty, and then became a successful chiropractor who was, at some point, suicidal. And Dain discovered consciousness tools that transformed everything for him. So for over the past 20 years, he's facilitated millions worldwide through his signature energetic synthesis of being process and Being You classes, as well as the Symphony of Possibilities work. He also founded the International Being You Day and teaches that being authentically yourself is how you change the world. Welcome to the show, Dain.
Christian, thanks for having me.
Yay. I want to start out with the question. I've heard that, sometimes the bioelectric field of the heart is like 60 times stronger than the ones of the mind, if I remember correctly, something like that. And then I've heard that even like being authentically you is even stronger. I'm not sure if there's a comparison with numbers, but like being you is a very strong vibration, is what I'm trying to say. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's actually the strongest, if you will. Like you pointed out, you have heart, you have mind. Heart is so much stronger than the mind. And what the being involves is it involves your heart. But so let's say being authentic, as you said, great way of describing it, creates, and I don't remember the numbers either, but I saw the study. I was like, holy crap. Like literally more than anything else, that is the strongest vibration there is. And it's when you're in alignment with what's true for you. And there are, we're drawn to people who are authentically them. And there's a reason for that. There's a magnetic attraction to that when somebody is truly being themselves. And even though the world we live in would tell you that it's about having a better image so that you can get more followers and more likes and more business and more everything else, actually, at this point in time, people are drawn to those who are more authentic, which is one of the reasons, people who use a lot of AI and what they do, if they use specifically AI for the generation of content, et cetera, it's like it doesn't get the traction oftentimes because people know, and people know when you're being authentic.
How refreshing. We do have some hope with this whole AI thing coming up. AI is powerful, but it's also a little scary. You know what I mean? It's like, ooh.
Yeah, true story.
So many skills and tasks and places that AI will replace humans as the actual doers, which, I mean, on one hand, it's really great because we get freed up to do what we're actually put here to do, which is to become ourselves authentically. And what does that even mean, right? So that's I think that's a long journey for all of us. Maybe not to get there, but the unfoldment of it, because there's so much that we can become, what we can become into. Like we can be anything if we want to, right? So with that being said, how do you look back on your work? Like you started out in the early 90s with this work, with the consciousness work. Like, what is it like building a legacy like you have?
For me, I wake up every day with such gratitude. It's one of those things where if you had told me 25 years ago, 35 years ago, I would have created this, I'd have looked for it every day and say, have you shown up yet? But that's not the way it works. We just need to take a step every single day in the direction of the life we'd like to have. And you look back 25 years later, like, holy crap, this is awesome. So for me, I wake up every day with an immense sense of gratitude for so many things, for the Access Consciousness business, but even more so for the thousands of people I'm connected with around the world that I see get lighter every day. Because one of the ways Access Consciousness is unique from other things is we give you tools to use in the trenches of life so that your life doesn't, because most people go along and they have so much baggage, and their only option seems to be to try to avoid it to get through their life. And what we do in Access is, no, let's turn around, let's look at it, but let's change it now. We don't have to walk around with all the baggage, and it doesn't take 25 years of meditating to get there. You can change it moment by moment, day by day as it comes up. And to know that I've gifted so many people those tools, for me, that's one of the great gifts of what I do, and one of the great gifts of being alive for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it must be incredible to know to impact thousands of lives, you know. So kudos and congrats on that achievement. And it doesn't happen overnight, you know.
Definitely doesn't happen overnight. And I also want to say, I say that with a level of humility where it's, and for me also, it's not even about me. It's about us. It's about the fact that we each have so much more available, and to see people start to access that and know it, and not just live the small life they thought they could have. It's like, as far as, when I look at what is the value of being alive, what do I want people to say about me after I'm gone? It's that he showed us how to be us, and he was there contributing, supporting, and doing whatever he could to contribute while simultaneously living a life that he loved. Because you can't do either or and do either one successfully.
And let's dive a little bit more into your work. So for people who've never heard of Access Consciousness, can you just give us a brief breakdown of what it is and how people can use it to, improve their lives?
Yeah, it's basically a set of tools, techniques, information, awarenesses, ways of handling things that allow you to access the consciousness that's already within you, so you can create the miraculous life you always knew was possible that you haven't been able to create so far.
And what's, I guess, a popular technique or a method or something that, you would, recommend our listeners to start maybe trying out or reshift?
Oh, so many things. We have over 8,000 tools that we work with, which sounds like a lot, but you just, do one at a time. But, we have classes live and online all around the world. We have books. So it's a huge body of work that actually addresses any area of life you want to change. And even the areas you're already having success, how can you make those greater? But let me give two real simple tools that might start changing people's perspective. One of which, three. By the way, I have ADHD like crazy, so I tend to go off on all kinds of tangents. So if you're listening and you're like me, thank you. And if you're not like me, I'm sorry. So first is this. We need to acknowledge that what I'd like to let everybody know is okay? You know what's true for you. You know when someone is lying. You know when something is a lie. And I want to acknowledge that right up front, because if we can start to access our knowing, then that nagging doubt we live with our entire lives can start to dissipate. Because when you know that you don't have to doubt, you can go into question. So number one, and if you'll just believe me on that for a moment, and then after the podcast, start looking for areas in your life in which you chose something and you knew not to choose it, and it worked out, and you chose it anyway, and you knew not to, and it worked out just as badly as you knew it would. Okay? That's an acknowledgement that you know. And also look for a few times in your life where you chose something that nobody else even could perceive was possible, or they said you can't, it's not going to work, and you knew and you chose and it worked out. And to the extent that we can start to access our knowing, our lives start to become a lot richer and fuller, but a lot easier and more miraculous. So number one, Number two, what's true for you will always make you lighter. A lie will always make you heavier. So if we think about light, it's like hanging out with friends that don't judge you, having a wonderful conversation, or going out in nature where, it feels like you can finally relax and be. It's got that sense to it. So when something is true for you, it's kind of like your whole world lightens up. It's like, oh, that's cool. It just kind of lands, and it doesn't have any rough edges. It doesn't feel like broken glass in your world. But something that's not true, it has a heaviness to it. And the difficulty is we've all been conditioned to believe that our job is to take the heavy things and turn them into lightness. But in actuality, we would be far more successful with far more ease if we acknowledge, if this is heavy for me, if this feels a twist in my guts, if it makes me want to hyperventilate, if it makes me want to disappear because it's so yuck, then it's not true for me. Then what is true for me? Because you can't take something that's a lie and make it true without getting the awareness that it's a lie. And most people don't even have this concept. They think all these heavy things that bombard them every day are something they should follow. So an example, you'll watch a YouTube video or something, and some conspiracy theory or something right before bed, and you feel twisted and bent and yuck, but you keep watching. It's like the train wreck. You're like, dude, turn the channel. Well, notice when you start going into that twist and realize, oh, this isn't true. Or at the very least, it's not true for me. And once this utilizes the fact that we know, and if we're willing to recognize what's true makes us lighter, a lie makes us heavier, and if we'll choose more things that make us lighter, over time, what happens is you'll look back, and if you got nothing else out of today other than I'm going to choose more of what makes me lighter, I'm going to stop choosing what makes me heavier, and I'm going to stop trying to figure it out because I can't bring blood out of a turnip. So what happens is 6 months from now, you'll look back and go, wow, my life is so much lighter than it was. I've got so much more lightness. And, if we're talking about enlightenment, there you go. Enlightenment should be light. And so that's the space of dancing to your own drummer, but also following your awareness. And the third tool I like to give people is ask a question instead of coming to conclusion and judgment. Because whenever you make a judgment, nothing that doesn't match that judgment can come into your world. So if you decide, my business is crap, it's never going to succeed, that's exactly what you see. Quantum physics tells us when you vibrate that way, that's what shows up. Okay, so access is kind of like where consciousness meets quantum physics. It's the awarenesses, but it's also the practicality of bringing those awarenesses into your world so your world is better. So if we can ask a question, let's say you look at your business and it starts going down. Well, rather than, oh my God, it's going down, what do I do? You can go, hey, what else is possible? What's it going to take to change this? What do I have to look at to find out what is creating this? And also for ourselves, a great question is, what's right about me I'm not getting? That one simple act of asking a question instead of coming to conclusion opens up possibilities like this. It goes like this, whereas a judgment pigeonholes it and puts it like there's walls to the left and right. So by the way, if you're listening instead of watching, when you ask a question, it expands. When you come to a judgment or a conclusion, it contracts, because the universe has no choice other than to deliver to you your judgment or conclusion. To the extent that we can stop that, we can create something different.
I love that. You also have a #1 bestselling book that's translated into 20 languages. And, you've received many, hundreds of emails, maybe even thousands. I mean, I'm not sure, of readers who say your book inspired them to live. So maybe in, a couple of sentences, what's in that book that inspires people to, to live, or to reach them, to touch them at that level?
Well, it's called Being You, Changing the World. And it really is about accessing what is uniquely you. And it's one of those books that you read and you go on this energetic journey where you're just somehow different afterwards. And I give a lot of tools in the book, once again, so people can use in the trenches of life. But you know how there are certain books, after you read them, you're just different. It's added itself into your world, hopefully in a really beautiful way. That's what the Being You, Changing the World book, that's what people tell me this book has done. They say, I feel like I'm no longer alone. I feel like I'm no longer wrong. And I'm actually looking forward to creating my life in a way I never have been before. And I feel like I've got the tools.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I think if you're able to trigger um, a belief change, a behavior change in people, like I think that is so deep. It's not just an intellectual concept that you're trying to communicate here. You actually, by people reading this book, they report that they have taken an action, changed their lives, which is incredible. So that means that the energetic thought flow that you convey in the book must touch them on a very deep level.
Well, that actually is the target. And also with everything that we do with Access Consciousness, like I did so many things before this on my spiritual journey that were highly significant a lot of times, but I would do it anyway because somebody would say it would work, but it didn't really create a result. When you use Access Consciousness tools, you know it's working in the moment of using it for most of them. Why? Because you go from heavier to lighter and you know it. And once again, when you're lighter, you're being more of you.
Let's talk a little bit with that aspect about business. So, yes, of course, all of this is a business somewhere for you, but it comes so much from the inside, which is what a lot of, I would say, spiritual driven entrepreneurs are doing, right? They take what is uniquely them and share it with the world. Um, and sometimes it's a very interesting observation. Like we have a lot of clients at Love Pixel Agency also that come through. At the end of the day, like it's not really that they care about making money. They just mainly they want to share. They just mainly want to share their gifts and what they have maybe learned or uniquely mastered with other people and how it has helped them in the past. So how is that? How does that energy, I guess that's the question, how does that energy create abundance for them?
Well, we need to recognize it as the healers and the seekers of the world, the exact people you're talking about. They don't care about money. They're not, exactly what you said, they're not doing it for the money. They want to share their gift. And when they see someone light up, their gift has been received and they're acknowledged, and that's what they wanted to do. I'm the same way. It's like I don't give a crap about money, but we need to make a distinction also. And that is, just because money is not your driving factor doesn't mean you shouldn't be willing to receive it. Because the other trap that we get into is we live in a world that tries to tell you everything is black and white, positive or negative, right or wrong, good or bad. So for the healers of the world, they're like, oh, well, you know what? People with money are bad. They have this weird inherent guilt complex about having money, as though money is somehow evil. In the Bible, it says money is the root of all evil. No, it says the love of money is the root of all evil, meaning loving money over yourself and your creations and making money the source. See, money's not the source. Money is the byproduct of creation. And if we can recognize that, and here's the other part is most of the people that you're talking about, a lot of people listening to this podcast would actually really like to have a lot of money because they would like the nice things that it would create. And simultaneously, they judge themselves for that as though now I'm being a bad spiritual person. It's one of the reasons I do Access Consciousness instead of Access Spirituality, because consciousness, we have a definition of consciousness, which is where everything exists and nothing is judged. Everything exists and nothing is judged. So even judgment isn't judged. Even selfishness isn't judged. Even a love of money is not judged. But also what that allows you is the willingness to include money in the computation, which is really all it takes, is our willingness to say, yes, I realize money is not a bad thing. I've seen a lot of people with money who've done a lot of bad things, quote unquote, if we want to put it in that context. But I've also seen a lot of people with money who've done some great things. I know so many people who have no money who've done terrible things, and so many people with a lot of money who have done terrible things. And I know so many people in both camps that have done wonderful things. So it's not about the money, Bob. Okay, so your willingness to have money should be your choice. And Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, he founded it back in, I don't know, 1986 or something. And I came along 25 years ago. But when I first came along, money was one of my biggest issues because I, like so many of the people we're talking about, a lot of you might be able to relate, was like, I just was struggling with money my whole life. And he said two things to me. He said, I don't know that I remember the second one, but let me tell you the one that changed my willingness to have money. He said, the purpose of money is to change people's realities. And I went, what? He's like, yeah, the purpose of money is to change people's realities. And I went, okay, well, and he's like, so do you want to change the world for the greater? I'm like, of course. That's what I wake up thinking about. That's why I do everything I do. He's like, this is the other question. Can you change the world more with money or without money? And I went, well, I've done a lot without money. He's like, can you change it more with money or without money? And would it be easier with money or without money? I went, oh my God, I can change it a lot more with money, because I started thinking of big things like buying up parts of the Amazon or being able to create centers for people, like all these things I couldn't have conceived of at the time. And so those two questions changed my whole financial reality. The purpose of money is to change people's realities. And can you change the world more with money or without money? And for me, and I'm hoping that in asking those questions, that some people out there might start to get on a road to more freedom, because fundamentally, business success and financial success is based on a willingness to receive. There's actually no such thing as a money issue. There's only an issue in what you're willing to receive or not. And it's our judgments and our projections about what things mean and what they are that keep us from being willing to receive them. So if you somewhere along the line bought the judgment that rich people aren't happy and rich people destroy things and money is the root of all evil, well, now you have, how are you going to have money under those conditions? Do you think money wants to come and play with you? No, it's like, you're like saying, hey, it's like inviting a friend to a party. You're like, hey, do you want to come to my party? Like, oh yeah, what's it going to be like? Well, there's going to be a lot of judgment and everybody's going to hate you and everybody won't want you there and everybody will think you were evil. Do you want to come? You're like, no. Well, it's the same thing with money. You're trying to invite it to the party of your life, but you have all these points of view that it is somehow inherently evil. Like, look, I have a euro right here. I don't know why I have 200 euros here, but I do. I travel to Europe a lot. That's why. Is there inherently anything evil about this thing? No, it's a piece of friggin' paper. You know what I mean? So it's like changing some of these deep held perspectives can create a space where, rather than having to work to receive and rather than feeling like we have to just be struggling all the time, we can actually allow ourselves to receive what we know we would like and what we're capable of.
Yeah, beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yep. It's a big one, the big money.
Yeah.
And
it's also,
yeah.
I'm glad you brought up that it is a big one, because in the spiritual community and the self-help personal development, there's this, it's like the big thing you're not supposed to speak about. You're not supposed to, you're supposed to, I don't know exactly what we're supposed to do, to be honest. I think that's one of the other problems is we haven't been given the vulnerability, the freedom to be vulnerable with whatever's going on. But this is one of those that even talking about it or acting like you like it, you're shunned by those in the spiritual community and it's an interesting thing because I grew up I had a very interesting childhood and family dynamics. I had a mother and father who were divorced, and my mom happened to be gay, and we lived with her friends. And so my mom's family was poor as, we're talking trailer park point of view perspective on life. And then my grandfather had created a business. So my dad's family had money. They were sort of upper middle class. And there was always this weird clash between them where this side, the family that had money, thought they were better and superior because they had money. And the family that didn't have money thought they were better and superior because they didn't have money and could still keep living. And I grew up in the middle of it going, this is insane, And I tried, like most of us kids do, to take both of those points of view. But what happens is, with the points of view our parents have and our families have when we grow up and everybody around us, we end up functioning from some major cognitive dissonance where there's this that people are saying is true and living as though it's true. And on the other side, there's this that's diametrically opposed that these people are saying is true. It creates this cognitive dissonance because you can't simultaneously hold those realities in existence. And that's where most people are functioning regarding money and business, because business is another extension of that. People see business as it is what is destroying the planet. And no, it's people that are making those choices. Some businesses are saving it. And not that it needs saving, but some businesses are contributing to a greater future. But there's no such thing as a business. There's just a conglomeration of individuals creating this thing we call business. So we got to realize it's our choice to have something different, to create something different. Going with the stereotypical thing to avoid so you don't have to look at your stuff is not really a kindness to anyone.
Yeah. It's I can see, how where you come from is such a wide just spectrum. So you had to just find where you are on that spectrum, and if anything is possible, what do I want to create from? You know what I mean? So very, very fascinating. Yeah, I'd say, and I continue with a thought that all of our changes start with a thought, like a vision, a thought, right? And you call that oftentimes the home of infinite possibilities, right? So what is this home? How can people relate to it? And you sometimes also use the metaphor of the dragon. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So, when you said, figuring out where you are on the spectrum, I tried that forever and I was never successful. And finally, I decided to throw out everybody else's spectrums and create my own. And that really is where the home of infinite possibilities is. It's based on the awareness that we are infinite beings, which is unfathomable to our mind. And for me, I like to let people know, if you're thinking, you're stinking. In other words, if you're mulling something over, thinking about it all the time, that's like a hamster on a hamster wheel. And so what is possible what if this home, what if this earth, and I know I sound like a total dreamer, I sound totally delusional, and I may be, but I don't care because I'm happy and wealthy, and I see people getting happier and wealthier, so I'm fine being delusional. So if I'm batshit crazy, no problem, okay? But what if this place could be our home, and what if it truly had infinite possibilities? And I say that, and most people go blank because it's like, what are you talking about? Well, I'm doing it partially as a pattern interrupt, but remember, what's true makes you lighter. And no matter how much your mind might want to try to stop it or put it in a box it can understand, when you deliver something that's true, it creates more possibility for that to show up in somebody's world. And the thing about the dragons, I actually started I got a 3D printer because I'm a geek. I'm a nerd of magnitude. I love exploring everything. And I got into ceramic coating of things at one point, and then I was led to 3D printing, and I always wanted to print one of those flexi dragons. So I printed one, and I brought it out, and my house manager, who's just this amazing lady, she's like, oh my God. She's like, Dain, you need to make these available to people. I'm like, why? She's like, touch it, feel it. I've never felt anything like this. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, it's magic. And I was like, and it was interesting because once she said it and she showed me what she was looking at, I was like, holy crap. There's something to this. And once again, I considered I was completely delusional. So I made some for some people and I sent them to them, and they got them and they were like, holy crap, it's magic. And, I'm more than willing to have people tell me I'm weird. The original meaning of weird was a spirit, fate, or destiny. But this whole idea is, and I don't make any of that significant. Do I sell dragons? Yes. But okay, fine. If you want a dragon, get a dragon. If you get that it will contribute to you, then get one, and if you don't. You should have choice. But what I'm trying to bring to people's awareness is, what if we have way more available than we've ever imagined? And what if this linear reality, this polarized reality, the reality we were all sold, isn't the only choice available? And what if you don't have to go to a mountaintop for 25 years and meditate and eat only snails or, I don't know, kale or whatever to get there? What if all of those, whatever choice you make in that realm, eating kale or meditating can be a contribution, but what if there's something available right here, right now, in our living, breathing reality that has far more possibilities to it than most people can see? Are you willing to be one of the weirdos that sees possibilities other people don't? Are you willing to be like the little kid in The Emperor Has No Clothes and go, y'all are delusional, he's naked? Like, are you willing to know? And my other question to people would be, what do you know is possible that other people don't see, that you've given up on? And what if you stop giving up just because other people can't see it? We've all had the experience of having something we were so excited about, something we were going to create. And then we made the mistake of sharing it with somebody who didn't get it or who wanted to shut it down, and it felt like it just disappears. Well, what if we valued ourselves enough to allow ourselves to tap into our dreams of, if I had no financial limitation, if I had no limitation of anything, what would I create? And you may not be able to create that in that form, but something that has that energy to it, add it to your life. Like, we are far more capable than we give ourselves credit for. And in the form of a podcast, I can have the conversation, create the invitation. I shared a couple of tools, but when I get to work with people in a class, I would not just have this conversation, then I would go into unlocking everything that doesn't allow that to start showing up for you now. And I mean now. I mean within the time of the conversation, something is different, where you're like, holy crap, I can do this, And I know I get a little intense, and I think sometimes that's a really good friggin' thing, because we are capable of so much more. And
Yeah.
most of the tools that we're being shown by the world around us are not effective enough or fast enough for the way we are wired.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think, most of society is just, we're too standardized, Everybody gets the same phone, the same computer, the same thing. It's just like, it just makes sense. And it makes it easy for the guys who make it, right? But we're so different and brilliant in our own unique way. And we rarely ever explore that more, which, I like that you say sometimes it's good to get weird, like you have to start supporting and nurturing that, unique, authentic, weird side of yourself, which we especially lose when we get older. It's like, all the responsibilities and kids,
Right.
it's just like, no time for that. Recently, a funny little excursion here. Like my iPhone broke, had a liquid damage because it got into water. So it's like,
Mm.
how would I fix that thing? And then I bought parts and stuff. Get into the whole thing, just like you with whatever the 3D printing. And it's just so fascinating, the world of like hardware and software, because certain Apple parts are paired to, Apple servers and blah blah blah. You can't just change the Face ID camera module that's tied to the logic board. Like, you have to get both together. And it's stuff like that. Like, how is the world created? Like, what the devices that we use every day, like we don't even know how this thing works. I open it up and you get all scared. You're gonna break some. Nothing's breaking. It's just the cables are flexible anyways. Popping everything open and everything. It was so much fun to explore that side of myself, like that tinker archetype. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Cool. I want to get I want to get some wisdom for our spiritual entrepreneurs from your perspective. So let's say somebody's out there, and they're thinking about the thought of starting their own side business, or whether it's spiritual or not, we don't care. But what would you say to them? They're maybe a little bit just scared to pursue that idea or put themselves out there. Like, what's something, just a quick little, I don't know, read my book, and then we can move on.
Read my book. No. Actually, I'll say to you what was said to me when I graduated college, and I was thinking of going to chiropractic school or not, but I've been out of college for a year and I really wanted to go, but I'm like, oh, I'm probably too old. I sat down with a chiropractic friend and she looked at me and she went, Dain, you're 23 years old. She's like, what's going to work better for you to actually start now, even though you're terrified, and go to school and get your chiropractic degree and license, or wait 10 years and then do it? Because we know you're going to. And I was like, oh, crap. So I will say to you, there is no perfect at the start. Every single one of us who's ever created any business has had ups, downs, and all arounds. And some people will only tell you about their successes. Don't believe them. They've had a lot of failures that is so far in their back mirror that they either forgot or just don't want to tell you. Everybody just has to figure it out as they go along and recognize you got this. You're far greater than you want to know, but be willing to start small. Be willing to not, some people say, sell your house or quit your job so you have to create. I'm not wired that way. Maybe people are, but start small and then see how it goes. I have a whole dragon business that started with printing one dragon. I wasn't even going to print a dragon. I wasn't even going to do this as a business. So, but also find out what you love. Find out what is really fun for you, and then have some friends over, share it with them. Some people you really like, and start getting into the mode of, sorry, I was supposed to say one thing. That's the ADHD. I apologize. Start getting into the mode of providing the service and getting the feedback for it, but also just start. Okay. If I have to say one thing, just start.
Just start. Yeah,
Just start.
It's so powerful. Also, the Nike slogan, "Just do it." And
Yeah.
nothing's gonna beat it. Even with the tea business that I started 2-3 years ago, it's like, listen, I have a child, I have a dog, I'm married. If I don't do this year, it's not gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, so from that perspective, it's like, put it out there, bro. Just make a package and see how it lands and see if the market wants it. And listen, if nobody buys in half a year, then probably not worth to pursue that thing.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, but the starting is sometimes the hardest, but at the same time it's so easy. You just literally sit down, get somebody on Fiverr, make that label, put it on a white bag with your words and your energy,
Yeah.
and then put it out there.
Yep.
So
true.
yeah, so true. Okay, so let's say, like, you've reached so many people through seminars, online presentations, and I think you also have one coming up on January 17th, 18th, right? Texas Ranch. You have an event coming up?
Yeah. We're doing something called Embodiment Done Different.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
How would you, like, if you could only impact, like, one thing about how people live their lives, what would you choose?
For them to stop judging them and everything and everyone else.
So big. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, because then
So
you would just start. You're like, oh, I have no idea. Sometimes it's good to also be in this like naive mindset of just like, let me just do this. Just
yeah.
like, I'm not even gonna plan or ask ChatGPT 5 million questions what the business go to market plan is. Just freaking get the label, put the tea inside the white bag, close it.
Close it and go. Yep, exactly. And we judge so much out of existence, and we've been taught we need to wait for the perfect this or there is no perfect this or that. that is going to make this happen. You just have to start. What can I do today to get this started?
Yeah. So let's look at your future, your legacy, like 20 years from now. What do you think? Like, what do you hope Access Consciousness has contributed to the world? Like, what do you see your legacy to be?
What I would like is for it to be a household name where every business is using these tools, because when you use the tools of consciousness, you have happier employees, you create greater, you have more profitability, you contribute more to the planet and the people. It's like it's a win-win, 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 win with no downside. I'd like schools to have access to all of these tools. One of the things that we have is something we call access consciousness bars. It's the thing that I literally was depressed and suicidal, had never heard of this stuff, had an hour and 15-minute session. And it's this basically light touch pressure point technique that's done on the head. An hour and 15 minutes later, well, actually, all the way through it was happening, but an hour and 15 minutes later, I got up and I was happy and grateful to be alive. It's literally why I'm still here. But because I had an experience of it changing so dynamically, I knew it could happen, which is why I keep wanting people to know it's possible no matter what hole you think you're in or what mountaintop you want to get to. And I would like bars to be in every school, every business, every government, every institution, because it decreases. We've done studies found it decreases anxiety, stress, and depression an average of 87% with one session. If we had that, the peace we all desire in the world would be tangible, and it would be possible. And people who are not doing judgment, anger, rage, fear, and hate and control don't cause war. They look for how to contribute and create with others and create for others. And that's the world I would like to see. If that could occur in 20 years, I would be a really happy cookie. So how do we get there? Well, today I'm asking, hey, universe, hey, consciousness, please help. I will do my part. By the way, for any of you who are looking to ask for something or change something, the beginning of that is this. It's making a demand, which is making a choice for that. And the way that looks is, I'm asking for this. Dear universe, dear consciousness, please help. I'm willing to let go of anything or anyone. I'm willing to have anything or anyone. I'm willing to change anything and create and generate anything I have to in order to have this show up and show me the way.
Very powerful. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. Well, the only thing that came up for me when you were talking about schools is what I see work these days with kids is video games. You know, from school they get like they get this login that is like from school, so it's kind of like pre-approved in a way, right? It's basically like a little game where you fight enemies, like it's like a 2D kind of map, and then you encounter new enemies. It's kind of like a little bit like Mario, where you run into different enemies. And then after, I would say every 3 or 5 rounds, they get a challenge, which is then usually about math or whatever the subject is, right? So they're engaged, they like the game, right? But then everything gets stopped until they solve that challenge, right? Which is a smart way to put it in there, I feel. Yeah, anyways, that just came up for me. Yeah.
I had no idea they were doing that. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's a pre-approved game. Like it's it's a game that comes from the school. The school that gives you the login, and they can play it at home
Wow.
for half an hour or an hour. I think there's a time limit on it, or you as a parent can even change the time limit, and you can decide how many solve math problems within the half an hour or whatever it is. So that is not bad. Like I think it's a smart idea to package this as a game and then give them tools to. Okay, now write down 3 things you're grateful for.
Right.
Yeah.
How the world has changed.
How the world
Amazing.
has changed.
Jeez.
Oh yeah. Well, and then soon, like I'm thinking, like my son, he's 7 now, so he's in second grade. Maybe I'll take him out after fourth, fifth grade, and it'd be amazing to get like an AI tutor for him.
Mm,
How crazy would that be? Like a
that,
person or like a robot that you can tell, I want my child to learn how to master money, do this, do that. And all you need to do, please go online, watch YouTube, here are the approved channels. Just download the transcript, feed yourself the knowledge, and teach my child, please. At the end of the day, like raising children is nothing else than writing on a hard drive. You're conditioning them to do A, B, Z, D, blah, 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 right? There's certain rewards tied to it.
boy, I hope there's more available than that, my friend. See, I'm a big fan of, so part of the idea of not functioning from judgment is not rejecting anything, asking, will this be a contribution? And what result will it create? So, there's some people like, I hate AI, it's going to destroy us. And then there's some people like, it's the best thing in the world. And I'm like, yeah, for what it's great for, it's great. For what it's not, you know? And I think if we can have that in our awareness and ask the question each time, this is where question starts getting us off of autopilot also. If we can ask the question each time, okay, will this be a contribution? What contribution will it be? And how can I do this even greater possibly? You can let the AI tutor, the AI robot, where it's going to be a contribution. And
Mhm.
like you said, use it in the ways that are going to free you up to do what will be either more fun or more creative or more productive for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Imagine having somebody you can talk to that has an infinite mind like that, recreate,
Mm,
access to all knowledge. I mean, just having like I don't know, like a statue or like a I don't know, a thing that you can talk to that has all the knowledge already when you just need it. Wow, amazing. I'll take it.
that is amazing on the one hand. And what I keep looking at is who's going to show people how to be a, I don't want to say a good person because that connotes a judgment, but who's going to show them how to be the person that they can be?
I mean, the parents still, right? I mean, the education still happens at home, and they see
Well,
you.
see, I'm not talking about you. Like, I can see you being with your kid and having this amazing resource, and and being a parent. Man, uh, wow, that is so many full-time jobs put together, along with inbuilt judgment that, of course, you can never do it perfectly enough and all that. So, my hat goes off to you parents in the world. Truly, 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 and raising them in how fast the world is changing now is, you guys are amazing, and I hope you know that. So I want to acknowledge that also. And in that, we often will take the path of least resistance. If we've got something there that will tutor a child, maybe we won't hang out and show them what an amazing kid they are and show them how to be a person. And then again, maybe we will. It depends. Once again, it's individual, it's unique.
Yeah,
Each of us chooses how we're going to be in each of those situations.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and I would love for you to maybe leave us with something that, yeah, kind of like the last words to the audience. Like, what's something that you really want to give people, the listeners, with on their path?
First, please realize that no matter what's going on in your life, you are not wrong. You are a gift and a contribution. Also, the only thing required to have everything you desire is never quit, never give up, and never give in. And what if you, truly being you, as miraculously weird and wonderful as you are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires?
Hmm. Aho, to that. Thank you so much for being on the show, Dain.
Christian, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Likewise.